be our guest, and then avoiding
Keep going.
copyright infringement.
No, keep going. No, you started.
Like my
You started.
favorite
Keep it going.
candelabra says.
Yo, shout out to France. Not really, but
Was he
Let's
gay?
unpack that. Whoa. Why does that matter?
I'm just curious. Was he? Because I think
Was
he was
who?
gay in the live action one. No.
who, LeFou?
Yeah. Is that his
Yeah.
name? LeFou?
Gaston's boy? Yeah.
The
It sounds poor. I thought
no,
we were
the,
talking
no,
about
no, 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 no.
the candelabra.
Oh, no. Lumiere was the candelabra.
There we go.
Just like literally like light was his name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was played especially queer. I think if anything, it's like
Three straight dudes talk about the queerness of some Disney characters.
Well, I will say
Disney's gone woke.
there is that, like, for anybody who knows musical theater super well, there's a song in Legally Blonde the musical called "Gay or European," where they're like trying to identify what this character is. And I think Lumiere fits into that like exactly.
In the Venn diagram, that's a circle. It is.
It's just Lumiere in the middle, like serving with a pouty lip, just like. And Jose, if you can like superimpose this image somewhere.
Yeah.
Like Lumiere serving face and candle, that would be amazing.
Welcome
back to the After School Cinema Club.
That's not even a cold open. That's the craziest thing, is that's not a cold open. That was actually the first thing that happened as soon as we hit record.
Because it was the whole like who can record thing, and I was like, well, I'm just a guest, and I was like, well, be our guest. That has no context, so let's just keep going. And here we are, minutes later. Hi, everybody.
We are the After School Cinema Club. I am Jose, the director out of the group, with my guests, Dylan and Vaughn, writer and actor extraordinaires. Gentlemen, it is Sunday night. Shout out to football. Football is back. Watching the Rams game. The Rams are trash, but how are you guys doing this Sunday?
Commanders lost, so as expected. Right.
Colts lost a heartfelt game. Anthony Richardson looked good though, so I'm cool.
I don't know if this is on the record, but the Rams are trash, but I'm not a Rams fan. I'm a Niners fan. And the Niners play tomorrow against the Jets. Should be an easy W. I do have Aaron Rodgers on my bench in my fantasy team for the memes.
I have Breece Hall starting, so.
I don't sports. So, by the way, all fantasy league, for anybody who's just like super into like fantasy football and somehow in 2024 still judgmental about like nerd things, you're a nerd. You're just a sports nerd. This is literally sports D&D. Welcome to the fandom. Welcome to the circle. When you're ready to leave your little table and join the rest of us, we'll be waiting.
That's awesome.
We skipped a week. I was down in LA. We recorded our IRL episode. If you haven't checked that out, go watch it.
How was your week in LA?
My week in LA was great, all things considered. Thank you for putting me on the spot. The reason we skipped a week is because I got into an accident. Not my fault.
We are so considerate on this pod. I just want to say that. We care about each other so much. Genuinely.
I got
Sorry.
rear-ended. Wasn't my fault. 2 blocks away from my house.
And your parked car was hit too.
What?
Wait,
On the front bumper.
Oh yeah. No, I remember what how I did that. That one was my fault. I was pulling out of my friend's driveway and I took a bit too much curb and it just slammed down and completely ruined it. I want to get a new front end anyway. I'm tired of having the poverty cutouts. I want to get fog lights. I want to do a thing. I'm a car guy after all. You know, I'm always thinking about what to do. But now my car's in the shop, so
I will say super quick as we're talking about cars. My parked car when I lived in North Hollywood, I was hit twice while parked.
damn.
And had to take my car into the shop.
I actually don't know if I've told you this. My car got broken into in my parking garage, and I had multi things. I actually am broken into. I think there's like a 75% chance I left my car unlocked, which I never do. But nothing was broken.
It doesn't auto lock.
Apparently not. I don't know. Your
car costs too much money to not do that.
He doesn't drive his car that he spent too much money on.
That is all of the things that you are saying are true. And I'm not upset because they're just simply facts. But what I am upset about, so I go in and like Davina's got to like move out of the way because like it's a tandem spot, and I like open the door and I just like stare in my car, and Davina's like parked, like pulls out. She's just like waiting for me, not getting in my car, and I'm like, someone broke into my car. And long story short, I like cause shit's everywhere, and they didn't take a goddamn thing. I had 2 pairs of Nikes. I had soccer cleats. I had a basketball. I had a fucking, for the 3 times last summer, Davina and I played tennis. I had 2 tennis rackets in there. They didn't take a fucking thing. They didn't take my Ray-Bans. Nothing. But all my shit was everywhere. I don't know if they were like just looking for cash and or drugs. Sorry. Don't have either of those or any of those. So confused.
Let me offer a bleak solution to that. Somebody needed housing for the night. Your car was unlocked, and they took a nap, and then
however
left.
But that wasn't the case. Like I had a blanket in there, unused.
There's a pillow.
Heat wave.
He brought his own blanket. Oh, there we go.
It was prior to the heat wave, though. It was really weird, and I more so felt judged that my stuff wasn't good enough for them to take.
You're like that meme when it's like, I had 2 tickets to go see X, and my car got broken into, and now there's 2 more tickets.
Yeah, literally, quite literally. So my car is like a disheveled mess, and I asked my apartment complex if they could look into it. That was like a week ago, and they still haven't gotten back to me. So we'll see.
I will say these are the moments, not that I hope this isn't the case for you, but these are the moments we find out that all of the like security that they tell us exists are just cameras that aren't plugged into anything.
Literally
like,
just for show.
Like, they've not emptied the cache or like the backlog of footage, so like the storage was full or whatever.
It goes back to like that out. It goes back to like 08 or something, and it just stops recording.
Or they just saw these Giannis sneakers and were like, this dude has no fucking style, and these Ray-Bans were like, sick, man. Everyone has these.
This guy drives an EV. Ew.
Yeah.
And still opted to break in.
The only thing I can think of is because it's a Hyundai, maybe they wanted to like steal it because they thought like it was one of the. I think the gas ones are the ones that are easy to steal. But I don't know.
It's a good point.
They didn't even take. I have like a window smasher thing as like an emergency. They didn't even take that. That would make their job more efficient.
Being broken into.
I'm confused. I'm not upset. I'm confused.
Okay, you got it. I don't want no smoke.
But going back on topic, this is a movie podcast.
Good thing
where
we're not on a
about
time
movies.
crunch.
We're gonna try something different. We're gonna try something different.
We're gonna make it
had a
up
plan.
because I'll just jump in here. We don't have a lot of movie news, so that
There
this
isn't.
section will be short anyway.
This is the news.
News is Dylan's car.
The news is I got rear-ended. Dylan got his car broken into.
I don't have any. I filled up my tank. That's my car-related news.
There we go. Shout out to Costco.
Shout out.
You know who supplies Costco gas? I went IRL. You had to drive all over the city to get Costco gas. Yeah, because there's only like 2 Costcos in LA, or one of them in LA. The other one's like in the Valley or some shit, right?
There are several in the Valley. I'm a Costco boy through and through. So yeah, I was at the. Don't worry where I was actually. As I think about it.
Again, we are on a time crunch.
Hit it.
We're gonna try something different. We had a movie in mind that I suggested, and kind of last minute we had an opportunity to watch another one. And given that there isn't any news, we're gonna see if we can do like a double feature conversation type. So, movies this week, we saw Didi, or I've seen Didi. They have seen Didi because of my recommendation. I guess I recommended both of them now that I'm thinking about it. We saw Didi.
Friend of the pod, Marco, recommended I see Didi independent, like before you recommended it to me. So if I were to give initial credit, shout out to Marco, who is from the Bay Area.
And was upset at me that I hadn't seen it yet.
Well, there we go.
Pressure.
Yeah. Spoilers for Didi.
Takes place in the Bay.
And the second movie we saw was El Candidato Honesto, or The Honest Candidate, a Mexican movie from Mexico. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to see if we can maybe try to bring a bit more perspective into the films that we choose. So I chose this, and I wanted to kind of take it upon myself to do my own kind of independent research, and then when it comes time to discuss, kind of shed some light as to things that I found out and I have figured out. It is a Spanish movie with English subtitles, which for some folks in the audience didn't really work out for.
That's not my issues with this movie. That is like, that is
country sayings is
that
a hit dog is gonna holler.
Do not fucking paint me as some fucking I don't like subtitles. That's not what this fucking is.
It's gonna holler.
All right, look, fine. If I will go off on this movie if we really want to do that. But like, that is my issue. Is not the movie. Is not I had to read subtitles. That was the nice way of one of the reasons why I didn't want to like this movie. If you want me to give my real criticisms of this movie and have me go a little bit more in on it, I can.
Why else?
That's what this podcast is about. Yeah. Look, I have a feeling what some of your criticisms might be, and I will concede where I will concede. It's a decent enough movie. It's not the best, objectively, but there is a lot of context that I think may help your opinion. At least I hope it does, and I hope I do justice in bringing it up. But if you want to give us your hot take, dude, this is a safe space.
No, I just didn't fucking like this movie, man. Like, I didn't think it was an original concept. I didn't think it was very funny. It was predictable. I knew what almost every joke was going to be before it was going to come out, for the most part, within reason. It was paced so ridiculously slow. To my point earlier, I took my phone out because I had to use the bathroom and check what time it was. When I saw it was only an hour into the movie, I nearly gasped. I I just like it really was not for me. It seemed like it had a cool message and of like we are this, country, this massive country, and we keep repeating the same mistakes and like all that, and I can get behind that. It just really did absolutely nothing for me at all whatsoever. And there was a few truly unbelievable like male gaze moments that also really took me out.
Welcome to Latin America.
Before we go much further, real quick, I just wanted to do the roll call for.
Yes, I can help you with some of the pronunciations.
Thank you. I'll make the attempt, and please jump in if and when I get it wrong. Directed by Luis Felipe Ibarra. Written by, hang tight here, El Huevo Charlie Barrientos. Adapted by Pablo Emiliano de la Rosa, and based on the film, which was written by Paulo Corsino. And then top build cast, which weird that this doesn't have. Where's the guy, the main guy? Oh, there he is. Tona, played by Adrian Uribe. Diana, played by Teresa Ruiz. Sure. Coral de la Vega, Tiare Skanda, and Daniel Tovar. And I'll leave it there. I'm just kind of reading names at this point. Did I miss any other key players? I know I didn't mention Nazareno or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I had a hard time looking for him too. I wonder if there's a lot of disconnect between the U.S. and America for credits and stuff like that, because I feel like there's a lot of big names in here for what they are, but they're not like big names in the States, right?
Yeah.
So there's this show, to give you some context. There was this show called La Hora Pico. It was basically an hour of prime time where it was just like comedy, and Adrian Uribe was one of the main stars in there, and so I feel like that was kind of maybe his call to fame. That's certainly how I know him, and some of his comedy is pretty funny. So when I saw that he was making a movie, or when I saw that the movie was made but also in the States for some reason, it made me interested to see what it was going to be. So that's the reason why I suggested it. Not just because it's Mexican, but whenever there's a movie making the effort to make waves in the US market, there's got to be some sort of there's got to be some benefit to it. They're not just going to release it because multiple movies come out in multiple countries, and not all of them we have the privilege of releasing in theaters in the States, right?
Yeah, super random, real quick. As of the time of this recording, today is his birthday.
Weird.
Yeah. Happy.
Our theater was low key packed.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, like pretty pretty full.
Yeah, and that goes to show how maybe dedicated to fan base is. I know I can only imagine what being like a first generation immigrant might be, and feeling homesick and having the opportunity in 2024 to go watch something in your native tongue, b about your native country, and c with an actor that you like adore, or like are like a fan of. So to me the turnout makes sense, because when I bought my tickets to watch it, I actually saw it on Saturday, so yeah, yesterday. No, sorry. Anyway, when I went to go see it, my theater was relatively empty. And then when I got there, it was pretty packed. Which, side note, I'm never doing what Bond does and leaving at the time of the screening, because I missed the beginning.
I too.
What part did you what part did you walk in on? Because I could give you a little synopsis. Because I texted a whole one out to Vaughn.
I got to, or we got in. When did we get in? Pretty much around the time when he's in the bathroom with like the kind of practicing his speech.
Yeah.
Like right around there, and then to go into. I mean, it's in the synopsis. The inciting incident is that his grandma's passing away, and so we got there, and as soon as we got there, and there's some things that happen. The inciting incident happened, so I know from my film knowledge we didn't miss that much. But I would still have liked to watch the beginning if it wasn't for me trying to see what Vaughn's life's about.
Yeah, I quite literally we were grabbed pizza across the street, and I just like turned to Vaughn and I was like, I'm going in now. And I got in there right when the last trailer finished, and they started to like do the whole thing.
I will say, in my defense, because Dylan was already in there, I wasn't pressed to go because I was like, he'll catch me up on what I missed. But also, it's a gut feeling. And I did, like, as he was texting me, like in between all that, I was feeling like, oh, I should go, but he's already in there, and I want to support theaters, so I went and bought popcorn. Wait, is that true? Yes. Like, what? Oh yeah, yeah. When
You
I
got
saw,
the kids thing. You got your
yeah,
kids.
that
You got your
combo.
kids deal. Yeah. Basically, it's just a giant exposition dump, and it's just like shows him from like he lost his parents when he was a small child. His grandmother took care of him. He got a job working as a bus assistant. Then he became a bus driver. Then he led a bus revolution. Fast forward. That's basically it.
So I got that gist of it from
The 17 other times they brought it up.
They didn't bring it up that much. Okay, they brought it up when it was relevant.
He's upset.
All
True.
things considered, it's a pretty standard story, and you can't get mad at that.
Yeah.
It's a generic writer's journey or hero's journey, but it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What are they teaching in schools,
Yeah, I will say, just to kind of give some broad stroke thoughts on the film. Thank you for that context, by the way, because that did help me formulate further formulate some ideas that I already had, which was, I think a lot about Tyler Perry, in that Tyler Perry's journey was like, he was, first of all, homeless. He was like living in motels and outside
I
of
didn't
his
know that.
car, and writing the like all the movies we see that he does now. Those were all like stage plays, and he would write the stage play and take it from city to city to city, and built this like cult following, if you will, of like Black Christians essentially, so that when we got to a point where, and I kind of got this vibe going into the theater seeing this film, but when we got to a point where like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, which was his first feature, when that hit theaters, we went out in droves. Like, we talked about it at church to go out and support this film and support this creator, and it was just a cool vibe to like be in there, be in that space. And I could imagine someone, not to out you, Dylan, but like for somebody who isn't a part of the community, much like, you wouldn't be for Tyler Perry, and neither of us would be
How
for the
dare you?
honest candidate. Like, what'd you say?
I said, how dare you?
Stop me when I lie. I'll proceed. The I could understand that, like, I'm not quite on the inside track on this
That's
thing,
fair.
but I'll go for the ride just the same. And I'd say, like, it was a ride I enjoyed, for as somebody who this isn't about me, but I am actively trying to get better at my Spanish. Living in LA, I don't want to be so elitist and make everybody speak English when they speak to me. I want to be able to meet people where they're at, and in as many conversations. I don't want language to be a barrier if it doesn't necessarily have to. So I've been on my Duolingos. I've got a good streak going, and when possible, when I can like try to like sound like a toddler and step through a sentence in Spanish, I will. So this was a nice exercise for me in that, and it's a fun ride. I'll say, if I like, the most biting or critical thing I'll say about the film is, Liar Liar did it first, and in a lot of ways better to me. Um, but that doesn't mean that like in much the same way that like there are going to be stories like we talk about like there are cookie cutter stories, but when you throw in specific culturally specific elements to it, I think that does like there are going to be Mexican people who see Liar Liar and don't connect to the story at all, or and like the comedy doesn't hit at all. Just like there are going to be people who enjoyed Liar Liar and see Honest Candidate and are like, okay, I think there's a cultural specificity that I do appreciate about this film.
Yeah, like Marco was cracking up. Marco was absolutely, he was belly laughing the entire movie. And most of the people in the theater were laughing.
Yeah. And it's a shame that that context doesn't land. Again, especially when they're trying to make a push to be in the States as a market, being Hollywood and where pretty much a lot of things kind of exist. Because going back to Dylan's point, a lot of just the jokes and the dialogue did not translate well. Like there would be like Spanish is such a context based language, I feel like. And even though there's like one word for one thing that doesn't necessarily translate the whole time, like when I guess it's minor spoilers. I mean we can go into spoilers. We're playing it fast and loose. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Sunday night. Um like whenever someone's like, "Oh, something something like you cabron," and like the translation would be like you asshole. But in the context of what they're saying, I personally don't think asshole would have been the better translation. It would have been like, "Oh, you motherfucker," because there's a lot more like anger behind it, or there's a lot more passion behind it, or it's like people just call each other cabron all the time as like a friendly thing. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not like necessarily like a curse word. I mean, it is a curse word, but it's not like a curse word in the traditional sense where you're like angry or upset or something. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish you had that context because I mean, yeah, but the movie wasn't for you, so I completely get it. And to Vaughn's point, Liar Liar did it first, fair. But if you watch Liar Liar on fucking Telemundo with English dub, it's not going to hit the same because
Yep.
a lot of the English phrases and the English terms, while you will translate and try to make it work, it just doesn't work and sometimes doesn't land.
And there were like small other times, like, like I don't remember the exact thing quote, but like let's say he's trying to say like, oh, that's fucking stupid. And it would be
Mm-hmm.
like, that's fuck stupid. It's
Mm-hmm.
like what it would sometimes say. It was like small stuff like that. Of like, it's not even like I was just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like that. Like it was just like just for like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of like wasn't. I kind of bummed in a way of just like not being able to enjoy it to the extent and just trying to get like broad strokes of what the themes are, which I could like get behind. But
The we kind of talked about it because Dylan and I went and saw the film together because we live in the same city. But one of the things that we talked about on the ride home was like this is a part of why I appreciate going to a theater to see something, because if this was like the homework for the week, so to speak, and I like hopped on streaming and just watched it in my house by myself, especially having no context culturally, I'd be like, oh, okay, like yeah, this was like a humorous film. But to be in the midst, and like to Dylan's point from earlier, like our friend Marco just like laughing hysterically, a lot of people in the theater like laughing hysterically, it helped like set the tone and the vibe.
yeah, and like some people did not like the scene where the grandma is
Oh
cursing
yeah, that blew her. Blew her mind.
Tota. Yeah, there were a few like older people behind us that were like not about it at all. Which like added to it. It was like made it like a more fun experience.
Yeah. Because traditionally in Mexico is very interesting and it's very diverse, and kind of what context I wanted to add to it is just how a lot of the public reacts to stuff like that. So the grandma is like a witch, because she's like indigenous. So which I wanted to touch on as well. One of the funniest parts to me and to the theater was the needle drop of him going on the bus to like his out in the sticks. His family where his grandma is. the second time when he's trying to like find himself. Because that song, I think it's Los Caminos de la Vida. I mean, that literally translates to the road that we take in life. And the whole song is kind of like a somber, sad song, bit of a meme in some places where it's just like, oh, look at the drunk uncle who's like crying to this song because he's upset that his girlfriend in like high school broke up. And so the needle drop of him finally realizing that he has to go back to his roots to kind of like figure things out was a pretty solid like joke in the movie, and people reacted to it. But I can only imagine you just been like, oh, okay, that's just a song that's sounds kind of somber, but just whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny because Marco had pointed out he was like that song always makes him like feel kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the
Are you telling
context
me that maybe this movie was not for me, and that I shouldn't critique it as hard?
I want to make you
I would
feel
never
bad
say
that you're
that.
critiquing it this hard.
Let's scrub the first 5 minutes of this. Not the first 5 minutes, because the first 5 minutes is completely off the rails. But from like 10 minutes to 5 minutes, let's just scrub that portion.
Or don't.
Or don't.
I guess you have to watch the video to find out.
The song's dope.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
The song, his like theme song, like presidential like theme song, elite.
Yeah. It's a great.
Someone who has been any degree of critical. Dylan has only been singing that song since we saw the movie.
It's
so
great,
like,
man.
He just like randomly just to himself.
It's one of those earworm political like little like licks that they do, because I don't know if you caught it, but like his name is Donatio, and they shorten it as Dona, and his slogan is Dona no te abandona, so that like has like a bit of like a rhythmic thing to it. So that's the reason why the song kind of works, because it's like his political slogan is that Dona no te abandona, so he's not gonna abandon you, because that's what abandona means. It's abandon. Yeah, but that slogan works.
Like the slogan alliteration thing you were talking about before.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, like when in what's his name at the end they're like trying to make it work. No, Orichurtu.
Yeah,
like the guy, his advisor becomes like the next candidate, and they're trying to play into the two, because two means you, and so he keeps saying his name Orichutu, and it's like, because Orichutu is two, and it's like it's you, but it's just like it doesn't work, and it doesn't roll off the tongue as well. Spanish is such a great language, dude.
The other thing too, because I was really confused as to why this dude kept speaking English, and I thought it was going to be that his like he was American, and I thought that was eventually going to like happen, and it didn't. And I guess Marco was just sharing that that's like what like snobby like Mexican people do, is that they just like insert English, like how you think of like a snobby like American will like insert like French or some other shit into conversation. Is that what was going on? Because I was like very confused. Okay,
100%. Because he even he popped off on him because he's honest, right?
Yeah.
He was like,
and he's like,
I don't like that you
speak
speak English. Yeah, yeah, because that is I don't know if fresa is the right term, but there's that's like a term you would give people who think they're like rich and snobby, but they're not. They're kind of like almost like wannabes, which is funny because fresa means strawberry, but I don't know if there's a connection there.
Ooh, that seems what? I was thinking like fruity, like, and then start to going down that like whole like avenue of.
I wouldn't blame you, because again, going back to Latin America, very conservative. Very conservative.
Very conservative. I'll also just to add my own historical elements to it. We already know that, like, in much the way I think like Disney has helped solidify this a bunch, but like just film in general, like English people are like not just snobby, but also like tend to be the villains. And I can also share that like from from my visit to Mexico City, which was a year ago, a little over a year ago, I was surprised at how much it looked like England, specifically like London. Like Mexico City and London are very similar in layout. And then I got a little bit into the history and saw colonization and all those things, um, and influence and like emulation and all that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if all of those elements, just like the general like film elements as well as the historical cultural elements, have like played into the like the like the just the queer villain trope. Um, so I'm wondering if they're just like leaning on that or lampshading that a little bit there.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Like just going back to the context of what like the Mexican culture is and what somebody who's in that environment may have thought of when it comes to writing a narrative or writing a character. Going back to your point about Mexico's government, a lot of my research was on like how the government works, and I was hoping that that context would add to it. But now hearing your concerns, it doesn't add any context at all. I can go into it if you'd like, but it's
like the structure of the government, dude. That was
yeah.
not the problems of the only other problem that I had, is they made it where like he can't lie or whatever, and then it's like he can't run the red light because that's like breaking the law. But he can reverse and like drive the wrong way and like all of that shit. And it was like that is like the least. Oh, that is the second least like thing that I have like problems with. And I was just like, you quite literally seconds ago established this. You established that only for you to then break it immediately in the like following moments, which I just thought was kind of silly.
Yeah, I mentioned that as well. That we're like, and I think it's maybe because of my affinity for like sci-fi or magic systems in a story. I'm like looking at what is the structure and what are the rules here. And so, okay, he can't lie. How deep does that go? And then you introduce the like, okay, he's going to be a law-abiding citizen on the road until he's immediately not. I was like, oh, okay. I don't love this. But I also think about like the crunch of like getting a film done. And if that was okay, this is around the corner from where we just shot, and we don't have the time to repaint like the arrows on the road for him to take this route. We got to make it work.
I get that. I get that. I was saying more about like the message of Mexico being a great country and what's going on. There was a time at one point where one political party dominated Mexico. There was a 70-year stint where the same political party, yeah, yeah. So when they talk about corruption in Mexico, like that's a thing. The there was 70 years, 70 years from like 1920 something to 2000 to 2000.
That's crazy.
Somebody lived their entire life under this one regime.
Yep.
Millions of people fucking live their like. That's nuts.
Yep. Yep. Like that's like, knowing that context for me made me appreciate the message of, especially his last little speech of like, like, hey, we're so great. We are this powerful country with wonderful people. We could do better if we just tried. Even his little like, it was supposed to be like a joke in the moment, but when he's like, we could be like Denmark if we got our shit together. Like that's true. That's 100% true. Mexico is so resource rich and has so much beautiful ecology. If they got their shit together, they could be a superpower 100%. They could have access. They have closer access to connecting the two sides of the world. Is better than the U.S., but they're the ones who built the Panama Canal. Mexico could have their own sort of infrastructure to be just so much more powerful in that sense. But the corruption runs deep. It's a shame.
Would you say now we're just generally learning about Mexico and its history? How
That was the
much?
plan all along.
Ah, yes. How much of that is happening internally, and how much of that is other systems and governments in place um, stopping that, like stopping that greatness from being?
My mom gave me an analogy, and they said that I think it was her. I'm going to credit her for it. Uh, the Mexican people are like crabs in a bucket and maybe it doesn't translate to English, but basically, when crabs are trying to escape, they don't work together. They'll just like pull people down, and they like won't realize that the solution to the problem is collaboration. Going back to the same political party running the country for 70 years, like the way the media portrays what's going on in Mexico, it is a bit fear mongering for their own internal affairs. Like there's 100% the reason why Trump runs on his campaign, but there is so much collusion between them to fuck over even the little guy, where it's not as simple as just putting a label on it. It runs deep, you
Yeah.
know, like the 2024 presidential election that just happened for Mexico. There were 40 dead candidates. It was one of the biggest, like, in political murders in the history of the nation to get to who ultimately is running the country right now.
Is that like from
I
the fucking cartels, or is that like from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
To tie all of this together, including the seemingly weird non sequitur at the very top of the show, um, as a person who is I'll admit, only ethnically Haitian. I'm not like, I don't have any ties to my mother country, if you will. Um, I do know. I also recognize like there's such a wild, rich, deep, twisted history with Haiti being the first free nation in the West, and also getting bullied and suppressed upon liberation by France, by the U.S., and despite the fact that Haiti went on to help many other countries in the Caribbean and South America find liberation, which, by the way, is why a lot of those countries have red, white, and blue as their flag colors. It's a thank you to Haiti. Uh, to see like how much corruption then happens, like I'm now in a space where I can travel, and like I've been to Mexico, which I loved, would like love to go back. I would love to go back and like check out my home country of Haiti. Can't do it. Like
Literally
there
can't.
is like actively in revolt right now. There is no government right now.
Yeah, wasn't the president murdered like in his home?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that was like a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I know that a lot of that is internal struggle, but I'm like, there are other, like I think as recently as the 19, I want to say 50s, maybe 40s, the U.S. government straight up stole gold from the Haitian banks. Like, just came in, CIA took all that money, and said, "You don't have this now," and that just is what it is. So I wonder, like, how much of it, like,
There's
yes, we need to avoid like or get over the corruption, but how much of it is also external forces, like supporting
there's
that concept?
100% the U.S. is involved one way or another, because Mexico has a similar history where in their independence war, like their Revolutionary War, um, that triggered the rest of southern and or that triggered the rest of Central and Southern America to be independent. Like Mexican Independence Day is the 16th of September, 1920, and then I think like everything else kind of trickles down to be like the 17th, the 18th, the 19th. I think it goes through like the 20th or the 21st, and that just goes to show how like impactful Mexico was as a whole, which they did also steal their gold. But my money is on the lithium right now. Mexico is sitting on the biggest lithium deposit in the world. It's
You
like
mean the thing
it's like
we
a
used to make batteries?
mm-hmm. In the shift to the electric future. There's
well,
no
that's like
way
how
in hell.
Venezuela, I think, has like
Venezuela
the
has the
second or
largest oil reserve.
third,
Yeah,
or yeah, like they have a massive oil reserve, and it's like so it's almost more like terrifying of like if it's not handled correctly, and like how that can go.
I mean the Venezuelans are terrorizing the U.S. right now, and who is putting them here to begin with?
Have you seen Sicario?
I haven't.
Me neither.
Oh man.
That's the list.
I would like really, really be down, especially with what this conversation is. It's a Denis Villeneuve movie, so like obviously I got to rep
Yeah.
Benicio del
like
Toro.
Benicio del Toro. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good, and it's like very on brand for like what this entire discussion is. God, I love that movie.
There's a sequel, right?
There was a sequel.
Okay.
Benicio del Toro was there for the bag. Like, respect it. It's got not the same. Doesn't have the same screenwriter. Doesn't have the same director. We don't talk about
Sicario
Day of the
2?
Soldado. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I think it's Sicario 2, Day of Soldado. You probably know it better than I do.
Soldado. Soldier.
Yes. Yeah.
Day of the Soldier.
Hitman, Day of the Soldier. That's the fucking name of the. Because Sicario is Hitman. That's so.
Mm-hmm.
That is a dumbass name.
I mean, so is the word.
It doesn't
movie.
translate. It doesn't translate well. It doesn't
Yeah.
translate well.
Do you want to talk about Didi?
I'd love to give this film a score.
Oh yeah, we should probably like finish.
Oh
our fucking...
yeah. Hey, the Parabola. Shout out to the Parabola. It's been so long since we rated a movie. It's just been a dry summer because the strike.
God. Is it Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
that was the last board film I think we did. Here we are.
Dang.
I will give this film a B plus for assumed cultural relevance, and and I'll defer to a second grader, which would in this case be Jose, for any missed points and extra credit available. But yeah, I'll drop it down to a B, solid B.
I agree. Solid B. Well, given the cultural relevance of it all. It's funny that Adrian is a bus driver because in that show, La Hora Pico, he plays a bus driver, but he plays like a pretty stereotypical bus driver. I forget what the term is called, but he's the type that listens to cumbia and has a mullet and has like fucking pit vipers on. Yeah, it's a vibe.
Wait, but I'm thinking about that character from Simpsons, the bus driver from Simpsons, who is basically what you described just now.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be comedic because those type of people are insufferable. If you know, you know. Solid B.
Score
7.5.
And I'm gonna say
it's like a 5 out of 10.
Hey, that
like
tracks.
D. Sorry.
You know what it is?
Don't blame you.
I feel like and I will always do this. I will always further the the analogy. I feel like in a world where we are the professors or we are the teachers in this school, like if the kids get their class roster or they get their syllabus class schedule, they're like, "Oh, you got Mr. Montague? Awesome! Oh, you're gonna pass. You're easily gonna pass." They're like, oh. Hey, Brad, why are you so sad? That Mr. Meehan. No. He's good. He's good. No, but he's so strict. No, but he's so good. I'm telling you, like, you're that teacher.
I'm the teacher that they appreciate much, much later, but they really did not like in the moment. And I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
What am I? Do I want to know?
I think you're the the one that they're gonna appreciate in the moment, and like because I think about specifically when I was in fourth grade, we had 4 classes we could have been put in. And the class I got put in, I was like, oh no, I got Mr. K. I can't believe this. Like, this year's gonna suck. And then about a month in, I was like, oh, this is his vibe. I'm into it, which I think is like Dylan's thing. Um, and I think you're like Mr. For me, and shout out to Hurd and Looker Elementary School in Jersey. Um, you're like Mr. Pereira, who's the solid
The
teacher.
only Hispanic there.
I mean, vaguely Portuguese, but sure.
I said Hispanic, not Latino, so that counts.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I was trying to weasel my way into that, and I realized, based on the language you used, I narrowly escaped it, and I hate that. No, you're the solid, like in the moment, like this is a good pick, and we're gonna appreciate it immediately.
Thank you. Moving on to the second movie that I've chose. I'm gonna take credit for it.
As well you should, honestly.
Yeah. Didi, it's a coming of age story about a kid who is in the summer of 08 going from middle school to high school. He's a skater boy from Fremont, up in the Bay. Shout out to Fremont. Do you got the class roster pulled up,
I
Vaughn?
do. We have director Sean Wang, who, in my very brief research, had also done directed a film called Nene and Waipo, where literally the same actress who played Nene was in that other film. So yeah, that's Sean Wang as our director, who also wrote this project. And then as far as cast, a gaggle of kids who this was their first project. But shout out to Isaac Wang, who played Chris Wang, Chung Sing Wang, Joan Chen, who played Chung Sing Wang, Shirley Chen, who played Vivian, and then Zhang Li Hua, who was Nene, and then again a gaggle of kids who played all the friends. Oh, and shout out to some like major, pretty like serious Asian actors who were just all of the auxiliary parts and players. Like the super minor spoilers, but you can imagine if it's a coming of age film. The instructor for the kissing tutorial he looked up, Stephanie Shu,
Huh.
who was the daughter in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
She was like voicing the.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to, and if you know, you know. By the time this airs, you will know. Shout out to my friend Sheng Wang, who played the voice of the fish.
I didn't even catch that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I bet Davina didn't even catch that either. Davina fucking loves Shang Wang. And I saw this big. There was a special thanks to Kelly Marie Tran. She was like listed in the very end credits because I had to stay throughout the entire credits, and we can talk about that. But yeah,
are you gathering yourself, my friend?
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
And there was a final. Yeah, we can just talk about it. Yeah.
Can I just say that I don't regret suggesting both of these movies.
I
see this as an absolute win.
Movie. Play both sides, so I always come out on top.
I see no issue with it.
Before we give you the floor, Dylan, I do just want to get my thoughts out of the way. I kind of touched on it in the IRL episode. I was I also got my timeline wrong in the IRL episode. I was in elementary school in '08 because I remember getting pulled out of class to watch Obama's inauguration in the auditorium. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about after the movie. I was like, huh, '08, what happened in '08? Oh, Obama was president. That's probably a big thing for him in high school during
Freshman
that
year.
first semester. Yeah. Yeah.
Freshman year.
Wow.
I remember watching. Sorry, I just remember like watching Obama videos online, and like my dad, not about my dad being like, "There's no way this guy's going to be president. He's like he's too new or whatever."
Okay.
That was the big thing. Not in a bad. It had nothing to do with the only criticism was that he had only been a senator for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Like that is quite literally his
From
only
senator to senator for a short period of time. All I'm saying is when you're retelling that story for the future, don't pause on the word "to."
And he didn't and he didn't vote for him. So I just he did vote for him in 2012. He did not vote for him in 08. Yeah, my dad was a big John McCain guy.
I will say, just for relevance, that was the first election I voted in. Because
Wow.
I was in '08, I was 20.
Damn.
And no. '08 into '09, yeah, I was a junior in college. It was great. I will say, because of how we prefaced it from the IRL episode, I think I was just primed to be feel less connected to some of the specifics, because I'm like, I wasn't in middle school going to high school at that time, but I found myself cackling out loud at just the silliest things, like all of the self edits on the AIM messages, and like, okay, she sent me
the AIM stuff threw me back
me
so much. It was
emojis.
crazy.
Okay, let me
The door shutting. The door shutting. That's a sound I've never thought of. I've never thought of that sound for who knows how long, and that was like wormholed me so fucking hard.
Yeah, like all of it. Just they're like emoticons. Like watching him do the like :P. If you know, you know. Even when they were texting and the what was it called? But like when you had the, like,
no, the
not
nine,
QWERTY.
the nine
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Like base 9 or something. Yeah, where you had to like tap like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, to click the number 4 like 2 times for the letter E, for example. You had to be there.
Imagine trying to explain that to like our children. They're gonna look at us
yeah,
like we've had to invent fire.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But that just goes to show how like great this movie is, because we're all in 3 completely different generations. Not generations, but 3 completely different.
Over here with
3 different eras.
The youngster of the group.
3 different times in our lives when this happened. And going back to the first movie we talked about, Dylan is the target audience because this movie is about him.
Quite literally, like so much stuff, minus being from an immigrant family, but or at least like first generation immigrant family.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the. It was still so fresh for me when I was that age, like I guess 8th going to 9th. Yeah, we were barely starting to get MySpaces. So like the idea of having to figure out how to get a Facebook, and this is super light spoilers for the film, that was not quite a thing. But the drama of top 8 was very relevant. And like customizing your page, like the one thing that I was like, oh, I'm barely on the outs on this one. Like the crush's MySpace page, or no, was it her face? Yeah, MySpace page having music on it. I had just barely phased out of MySpace, and I was just on Facebook at that time. Again, because for me, I was uniquely old enough to have an EDU email, because I was in college at the time, and also my high school was one of the earlier high schools to get access to Facebook, where like it wasn't as much of a requirement.
Like pre when you had to be in school for a Facebook, right?
Right.
When it was strictly like a college messaging thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. So like I've had a Facebook since 05.
Damn.
You're gonna get a decent check, aren't you?
We'll see. I submitted for the claim. We'll see what happens.
Oh God, am I too late to submit the claim?
Oh, dude, you didn't get in on that.
You are. You actively are.
Man,
And I'm so sorry.
Shucks,
Yeah.
I've been in since 08.
Same.
Yeah. I guess
09, I guess.
spoiler free, if you are like between 28 and like 32, absolutely, without even a shadow of a doubt, go see this movie just from like a time capsule standpoint. It's unbelievable.
Even if you're not in that,
like,
I'm not 28.
But like Davina 27 never used AIM, like none of it. Like she got obviously the context of it, which I thought was actually kind of wild, but had like never used it. But yeah, like all like just so good, very emotional, hilarious. You will laugh, you will cry. Unbelievable movie. Please don't make a fucking Marvel movie next. Please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you with every fiber of my being. At least make like 2 or 3 more movies before taking that bag. Please.
Oh,
Give him the bag. Give him the bag.
If Sean Wang were to go on to direct in a solo Amadeus Cho project, who is the new Hulk, I say new very loosely, but that could be interesting and fun. I mean, it's about a young Asian kid, and there's just a Marvel skin on it because he's the Hulk, and he's a genius. I think that could be fun.
Woke Disney at it again, replacing my white Hulk. Damn it.
Your Hulk never left, just as a reminder. That Hulk is still alive. Literally can't die.
What are your thoughts on the Red Hulk, huh? What do you mean by that?
It's a fucking commie, and we should take care of him immediately.
I'll leave it there. I'm realizing I want to say things that maybe I shouldn't say on pod.
Isn't Death also supposed to be Red Hulk? Or am I missing things?
The character of Death?
Not the actual character of Death in Marvel Comics, but the MCU version of Death. Isn't he the guy from the first Captain America, which also has some kind of relation to
That's Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Sorry. Oh, who wound up being the guardian for the Soul Stone?
Still not Death.
Yeah,
Death is a woman.
I know that,
and I know this from the comics. Death is Thanos' like love interest. That's the reason why he does the whole thing. Yeah,
which is why I was like separate from Marvel. But I thought they sold it kind of like
they did.
He was Death in
he's
the
this
MCU.
like spiritual guy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say, just to kind of tie this in, because we're talking double feature things, another thing that kind of stood out to me watching this movie that I felt aligned with my experience of The Honest Candidate is that this was a little bit more culturally relevant to my experience, but I still was very much on the outside of, because none of this character's relationship with the adults in his life resonated with me at all. I was actively appalled at a lot of the content.
That's me.
You were also appalled, or you were?
Son of an immigrant.
You were. Oh, I got
son
you.
Of an immigrant. Yeah, that's why I loved it. Makes me feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah, and I'm sure at this phase, especially as we're talking about this film and like coming of age and what it means to like grow up and mature, will reveal a lot. But I will say, for my part, growing up, I like my mom's motto was often like "fix your face," so like I wasn't allowed to have negative emotion, literally. And when it came time to like when it came to expressing myself in any fashion, if it wasn't positive, it wasn't helpful. And I learned like I've healed and moved on and et cetera, et cetera. But like the idea of even having that level or that amount of expression alone, I was just like, what is this I'm watching? And my heart went out because I'm like, it's a lot of people. It's just it's people not feeling heard or seen and not really having any healthy outlets uh, to express that or taking the time to develop that.
It's the trauma of being a first generation child. I've been trying to figure that out recently because for all intents and purposes, I am an American, but I'm also Mexican. I'm a Mexican American, and sometimes I identify as American, and sometimes I identify as Mexican, and that's a tough thing to grapple with being from a first generation family, because he says it in the movie, and we could just go into spoilers. Um, he identifies as half Asian because his dad's not here, and which sucks because I mean I get that he might as well be half Asian because he's an American. He's born in America. He has all of the benefits of being a U.S. citizen, but at the same time, his dad is working his ass off overseas to provide for them. His mom is working her ass off to raise them and grow and do that. But when you're at that age, you don't see any of that. You just see who shows up, to
Yeah.
borrow a trope from How I Met Your Mother.
Even his mom had that line where she said, you're so ABC," or like you're obviously ABC or something like that. I think when they like were having when they were at
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's, and I was like,
I didn't
God,
know what that meant.
American born
American born
Chinese.
Chinese.
Oh.
And so there's an othering happening there too. So it's like, okay, I don't fit in at school, and then I'm not American enough at school, and I'm not Asian enough at home.
Which I would hope he would have, and it's a shame that he kind of sort of burnt that bridge. But if he would have connected with some of the other minorities in his life, maybe he could have further expressed that and developed with their own. Although there is a lot of Indians here in the Bay, so if even though his friend was like Indian, I think they're probably like maybe like first or or he's probably
Pakistani.
like, oh, sorry.
Not to cause any geopolitical issues on this podcast.
There are a lot of people from over there over here.
Wait, both of them?
Both of who?
Because there was Fahad, and then there was the other kid.
The other kid was Asian, whose mom has cancer.
No, there was one that
No,
had.
there's another kid who had like a not a top knot, but he like his
Yeah.
hair was wrapped in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Oh, but that was like an auxiliary friend. That wasn't like his best friend. His best friend was like that group of 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one that was like he would always message and like message. I believe he said
Yeah.
he was Pakistani.
Okay.
Yeah. But his family's probably been here for a minute. So there is that sort of shared like line, both being brown, or not brown, but minorities. Um, but I don't know if that would have necessarily helped his case.
It's also
That's tough,
tricky.
man.
Yeah, because like I think in at that age, all you want to feel is acceptance and like you belong somewhere. And to your point, where who was I having? I was having a conversation. Oh, it was about. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone about like the Compton school district back I guess a couple decades ago, because an older gentleman, his wife was a school teacher, and they found that the population in Compton was like 98% Hispanic, and I'm sure like when the numbers are that large, you like finding comfort and finding like your place is a little bit easier. But I think it's so interesting to know at least my experience of the Bay, unless it's changed wildly in the 15 years between when this movie is set and now. Like there is a very large Asian population in the Bay, and that like you would think that there is like I didn't see him finding much comfort or solace in the other Asian kids. There was still this like the striving towards the norm, which is whiteness by default. Like and even the girl he has the crush on when they're like over on like the slides or whatever, and she's like, "You're cute for an Asian like guy." I was like, "Oh, I've heard that before." Not the Asian part, but like to have your attractiveness be qualified based on your race. I'm like, not the best, but also you're. I mean, she's what? She's 15. So what does she know?
He's literally me, dude. Not the Asian part either.
He's literally me, except for this one very important thing.
I mean, it's just the reason why I just connect with it because I completely understand the alignment of trying to strive for that. Because growing up in a lower income, also predominantly Hispanic areas, like there were a lot of things that I didn't necessarily enjoy about my community for the longest time. Part of the reason that I love Taylor Swift and the Chainsmokers was to try to fit in. Thank you, Dylan.
You're
But as
welcome.
I have matured and as I've met my girlfriend, who is a Mexican from the Bay Area and has embraced a lot of that culture, um, has made she has really made me appreciate both sides, you know.
Mm.
But before I met her, it was just trying to be as what as I could be, and that's something you know, it's an ongoing development conversation with myself.
I have another aside question, if I may, just around experiences growing up, and either of you feel free to like jump in and answer. But I just think about like my experience growing up black. Like there's so many terms we have for like the shades of the black experience. Like, I was called an Oreo often for like having interests that would be like stereotypically white. And so like the idea of the Oreo being that I'm black on the outside, but I'm white on the inside based on my interests. And over time I was made aware of like that a lot of other cultures had phrases. So like there's the coconut, there's the banana, there's like all these other like usually food related things that like suggested that internally, like even though you look, there's a facade and there's an internal experience that are different in some way. But I also know for like my black experience, we also have the term of like an Uncle Tom, which is someone who's effectively a sellout, actively a sellout, which based on the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, uh, where there's a betrayal element to your cultural experience. Does that exist in other cultures? Like, is there a Mexican version of like an Uncle Tom or like a
I'm sure
sellout?
I'm sure there is, and I have always like been grateful for my upbringing because I don't have that as much as others might have. Because when I see Mexican LA culture, it's always lowriders, East LA, and the Raiders, you know? And a part of me is like, I wish I could be a part of that. And I wish I could have understood that sort of like environment. But I grew up on the West Side. The West Side's the best side. And I was just not as immersed in this culture war, or maybe not culture war, but this like race relations, um, as much as other people might have been. I I feel like my elementary school was predominantly Hispanic. I mean, it was called Alta Loma, which means like high mountain because it was on top of a hill. So there's that. Um, I went to the one of the worst inner city middle schools. Shout out to Johnny Cochran Middle School. It used to be called Mount Vernon. Yeah, and then apparently the lawyer invested in it, and they changed the name, and we all got his book for Culmination, which is kind of lame. Anyway, and then I went to Venice High, which is on the beach, and so there's a lot of being as formative as those years are. Again, going from middle school to high school, coming from that community in the inner city into now Venice, like a predominantly whiter area, but still having a lot of that mixing pot, to me is giving me that perspective of my own like race relations. But to go back to your question, Vaughn, I'm sure there is a dedicated word for someone like me, but I just don't know it because I wasn't a part of it. And I'll take that as a win for myself.
Well, your experience, from what I know, isn't exactly what an Uncle Tom is. Like an Uncle Tom would be like a person who would actively like ostracize or out another like Mexican, for example, because of their like for the sake of another white counterpart.
No, never, never. I think being also having that immigrant fear in like my parents being immigrants here, they never like wanted me to be a part of what stereotypically was like the bad thing. Um, because just like besides like lowriders and the Raiders, like what else do you think of like an East LA Hispanic? Oh, they're more than likely a gang member, wearing the baggy white t-shirt with the shorts with the tattoos, you know. And so my mom wouldn't want me to be in that because of her own fear of being deported, but at the same time, like not putting me in the bad thing. But yes, Vaughn, I don't see myself as that. Uh, and I don't think I have the experiences to be that. But I'm saying that that community that I'm describing, the hardcore East LA
Mm-hmm.
Mexican community, probably does have a word, but I just don't know what that is because I'm not part of that community.
Got you.
What's the? I forget. You don't count as this person. I forget what the word is, but it's like the first generation kids that don't know Spanish.
No Sabo kids?
Uh yeah, yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Immediately did it. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's on the
It's not.
parents.
It's not. It is on the parents. It is
It's
100%.
on the...
It 100%. It is on the parents. But at the same time, like again, and I say this now as an enlightened individual because of my girlfriend. I am really appreciative that I know Spanish and I know Spanish to
Oh
such a
yeah.
fluency where I can have that dual conversation, and that's just me, you know. There's this game, it was viral on TikTok for a while. It's called No Sabo. It's basically just Spanish trivia, and we played it, like me, my girlfriend, her friend, and like her boyfriend at the time, and we're all first generation, very fluent Spanish speakers, and we just went through it like that because we just like have the vocabulary.
Yeah.
The game wasn't fun for us because we know all the answers.
Yeah. We have there was a
um,
there's another a game similar to that where it's like a card game and it's just acronyms, but it's like all about
Mm,
like black things.
that's
And
cool.
I was with a group of people where like and there's like different topics, and when they got to the church topic, I was flying
Mm.
through all of them. Like the minute it came up, I was like, it's God be the glory. Next, like give me honor to God who's the head of my life.
do you remember the one where I showed it to Davina and Davina got it and I couldn't believe it? It was like 17 letters long, and it was just like if you don't get back in the house or
Wish you would
whatever
have
or
taken
something
ass in
like,
this
like
house before I beat your ass. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I showed it to Davina and Davina just like not just
In seconds, like,
yeah, and
yeah, got
I
it.
could not believe it. So looking into my hometown, what do you think the racial demographics of West Hartford, Connecticut are?
99% white,
Not that, it's
1.5% black.
80%. 80%
Oh,
white. 80% white, 6% black, 7% Asian, and then 3.8 other percent.
other. Hey, shout out to the
Um,
other. Am I right?
and then randomly, then Hispanic slash Latino was the other 9.8%, which tracks. lots of like a lot of Puerto Ricans in Connecticut, but
they're American.
Yeah, that didn't say they weren't American. You could be Puerto Rican.
They're not.
And
Hispanic.
You could be Hispanic or Latino.
Oh, damn. I fell in my own trap.
Like, what? Anyways, I'm just going to skirt right up by that. The only thing that I can like somewhat kind of think of is being a Catholic Lebanese person and not being Muslim. There were like growing up 2 hours outside of New York City in a post 9/11 world, there was Middle Eastern people were looked at very differently. And me being like, oh, you're one of like the good ones. That was said to me at a fucking bar that people we know go to. The person was Israeli, and they were like, you're Lebanese? And I was like, yeah. They were like, are you Muslim or are you Catholic? And I said I was Catholic, and they went, oh, you're one of the good ones. That's what they said to my face a few weeks ago. Yeah.
We'll talk about this all pod.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're saying a random bar person told you that?
Like, this is a stranger.
Oh, okay.
Not someone we know, which is even wilder just to say to a stranger. But like, so that was always a thing of like having friends who were like somewhat like Middle Eastern or Muslim, and there being like a very different culture. Like my Middle Eastern family doesn't even really say their name with any kind, like they just say it in the most like white fucking way. Like, absolutely. So like, I guess like more I was like learning that like after the fact kind of thing. And I have like the least exotic fucking, non-white background, but yeah. So there's not really a whole lot for me in that kind of way at all. But I totally related to this movie's like keeping up with the Joneses aspect of like the other kids that are all successful, and it's like, oh, she's going to UCLA, right? And it's like, no, she's going to UCSD, and then she's like, oh, like having to like think about where this fucking school is.
Also, like, a good school, by the way. Amazing theater program.
But like going to first off, this is the way I always tell the story. So I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut. At the time, no idea if it still is, not really checking the leaderboards. At the time, West Hartford was the number 2 public school system in Connecticut, which was the number 2 public school system state, behind only Massachusetts. So I'm always like, I went to like the 4th best public school system in the country. My mom still felt it to be very important to send her child to private school and spend a significant amount of money. And so there was just like a very much of like oh, my son's doing this or doing this, and like we have to look like this and dress like this. And so I like understood that aspect of it, of when they're like going out to dinner or he sees them like at like SAT prep. And I remember getting my SAT tutor that was recommended from someone else because it was really important for me to get good SAT scores, which I don't think I did. But sorry, Mom. But it like that part of it was like super relatable to me, and like all the music and like all of it, fucking watching the skating videos, like filming shit with my friends. I didn't throw a dead squirrel around by its tail. Instead, what we did was we would do like ding dong ditch and pool hopping a ton. And I remember to this day, you looked.
This you jump into somebody's pool.
So like people that we would live, because there were a lot of pools in our neighborhood, because I grew up where people just had pools in their backyards, and you just hop in their fucking pool. Just like hop in these random people's pools, and just like 15 kids would just jump into this person's
badass,
pool.
Dude. That's badass.
Like at 15, like how do you?
Not even. This was like middle school. This was like middle school actually.
No, I mean, so like probably like the number of people being 15, like. That's
just like the neighbor.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm letting it happen.
Just like the neighbor. Just like the neighborhood would be like, because that was the time where like it was barely like we had cell phones, but not really. You just look for where the bikes are and just kind of like pull up. And So like the only thing that I can think of like blowing up someone's mailbox was we also played lacrosse because we were from Connecticut, and we picked up a roadkill squirrel. I'm going to admit this on camera. I don't care because it's a funny story. Picked up a roadkill squirrel, and I wasn't the one that did it, but I was like a part of the friends. And this person who we always like would ding dong ditch, they rang their doorbell. When they opened the door, they threw the fucking squirrel in this poor person's house. Which is terrible.
That's sick. That's sick as fuck.
And you know what? Like, I'm not even going to like pretend to try to be upset or like super appalled, because we could run through the stories of the terrible things we did as teenage boys and preteen boys, and we would have no listeners left.
But it was, and I remember that person getting out of their car and like chasing after us in their car, like driving. It was like,
shit.
I will remember that for the rest. It's one of those things. In the moment, that was the funniest thing ever, and me laughing at it. I couldn't imagine if I had to deal with that now. I would want to murder that child.
I think you just stand there and let it happen, dude. You just like open the door and there's a squirrel in the floor, and you're just
no okay. Reaction's the best reaction in that moment, because then the kids don't get the satisfaction.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, would y'all ding dong dish and shit? Was that even a thing?
Again, going back to not being bad because my mom would get deported. I was a pretty good kid, all things considered.
Yeah.
We did it a little bit when I was like in our apartment complex, when I lived in New Jersey, but by the time I got to DC, not really. No.
Yeah. That was a huge part of my like middle school. Not really high school. I think kind of like grew out of it a little bit. And also the thing that I related to is, since there was like kids I hung out with middle school, and some kids that were like a little bit older too, hung out with all of the time. And then from quite literally the day I went to my private school, because I went from public to private, I never talked to those kids again. Like, I would talk to them every single day. The moment I went to the high school, I never talked to them again. Wow. And so like that was like super relatable in that way, of just like those people just fall off a fucking cliff, and it's just like over. It was like before really social media, before like it was like we had Facebook, but like it wasn't really in that kind of way. And you find your other group of friends, and like you find your other club or something that you're into, and then it's just like gone.
You never went back and looked them up on socials or anything?
Yeah, like we were like fucking Instagram friends and shit like that, but like randomly would run on like like I've run into them at like one of the few times I go to like my hometown bars. Like if I'm home, I like see them and talk for a second, and like that's it. But so like that part felt like very relatable. I wasn't really on MySpace at all, I don't think, but I do remember being born in 94 and choosing 90 because that meant I was 18. I like really remember like that, like to my core.
You know what's funny? When I signed up for that stuff, I would choose 95.
94? 95. Dang. Wow. Yeah, so that was like super relatable for me. It was like, it really hit home, and like, I'm gonna be honest, this movie fucked me up. This movie fucked me up on so many levels. So much stuff with.
Are we ready to take the dive, gents?
Yeah, sure.
Have we not been swimming already?
We've been treading. I think it's time to go for the dive.
Oh, I'm like chest deep, dude. I got pretty vulnerable.
Man, I fucking weeped. Like, there was like, obviously anything with like moms is going to be like really impactful for me, but like, God, man, this like really messed with me, because that's also like the last age that I had with my mom, you know what I mean? Of where like before she got sick, and then like before she passed, and so like that is like very raw, which it's not really a time I think of all that much, you know, until I'm like literally presented with a movie that quite literally hits in so many different ways.
I told you
Hey, look
it
at
was
this.
this.
Yeah.
This happened.
Yes.
I was like, hey, it's between this and this, and
And
you're
the
like, hey,
moment
that's
you
me.
said it, and then like it was one of those things where I was, and then because Davina was like, "Is this gonna be sad?" I was like, "It's not gonna be sad." I'm a fucking idiot.
You fool.
Yeah, man. I like that last spoilers, which I think we've already talked on. When it's the two of them at that fucking table at the end, and she's just like looking at him, smiling, and like the fighting and like the terrible things that you say in a fight to a parent, and like the idea of like as an adult hearing your kid say "I hate you," like, and just having to like process that. I only tried to run away once, and I stopped because a red-tailed hawk was sitting like in our front yard, and it terrified me, and my parents thought I was lying, and then I got really mad. And then like they finally saw it, but I like remember that very vividly. Yeah, man, that this thing fucking fucked me up. And at the very end, and I'm like bawling, I'm fucking crying in the Alamo Draft House, trying to play it all coy as they're like fucking cleaning up and shit. And I don't know if you stayed this very late, but at the very end, after it's like all of the fucking things, it says it in I believe Taiwanese or in Mandarin, and then in subtitles for mom. So I was like, oh, I'm good. Oh, just kidding. Fucking stabbed right through the goddamn chest one last time. Yeah.
Double tap.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a fucking gut punch right at the very end. Go see this movie. This movie fucking rocks. But like,
This movie's amazing. This movie's amazing.
Man, please don't make a fucking Marvel movie yet. Please, just like do some other shit. But like, oh man, it's so good. Sorry for just like taking over, but
don't be. I think to your point, there is so much that is personally relevant for you with this film that I'm happy to give you the stage and the platform to like dive and delve into it all.
Yeah.
You said this was literally you, dude. This movie was literally you.
Yo, him fucking sucking at kickflips. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. I'm back. Landing a kickflip and thinking you're Rodney fucking Mullen. Like, yep, I've been there. Like, just, yeah.
Or even like having to like produce the confidence or like fake the confidence and knowing how to do a thing and then immediately running to Google to look up how to do that thing. Like even when he was like flirting with the girl and he's like he looks up like all the stuff that she's into and says he's into it, like changes his ringtone, all of that shit.
Yeah.
Like been there. I've said
I'm feeling lucky. The Google search saying I'm feeling lucky. Like I hadn't even like it was all these like small little things like that I hadn't even thought of. And the one last thing, as someone that desperately just wanted to be liked and was like an amoeba of a person until I got a lot older and like figured out what I actually, that was really relatable. Like he was just doing everything to be accepted. And I know you kind of touched on that as well. And that was very relatable to me, of just like trying to find your like group of friends or whoever, and then like losing your friends and then like trying to figure out like how you're gonna like do all of that.
Yeah, and we didn't see it as much, and this is we didn't see it as much, but in the moment where like the skater guys are gonna come over to his place to like review the footage with him, he's like, oh, right now, and he like gets rid of all of like the posters and the stuff that he's put up in his room and the things that he's like super into. That has always reminded me, like I try to live my life as like openly and as honestly and whatever as possible. And I think a large part of that is that there were so many things I was into. Like I have literally always been this kind of a nerd about a lot of stuff, and I remember being so ashamed of some of these like niche interests. In that, like I remember actively one day in high school, like I was playing I had played like Fire Red or Leaf Green, like one of the Pokemon games, and another friend of mine had the game, and he like we were like raising our Pokemon, and he like came up to me one day, like came up to my locker, was like, "Hey, do you want to trade like do you have a Charmander or like whatever it was?" And a girl I liked was like super nearby, and I flat out was like, and I'm so sorry to Marcus Cooper. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know anything about that shit. Like, I was like so mean to him to like get him to go away, to pretend that like I didn't even know what Pokemon was. And mind you, I also was like,
and fucking Pokemon. That is like entry level fucking nerd shit.
but
It's not Digimon. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! 15. Yeah, it's a little older. I get you. I hear you.
And then,
fucking nerd.
Admittedly, like I also like I had a secret compartment or like a secret pocket in my backpack where I had my Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Where like after school I would go to.
Were you into Magic?
I never got into Magic.
Yeah, Magic was another level. That's another fucking level.
I also,
no offense to anyone that was into Magic.
Didn't have
respectfully,
money.
you must have really had. What's up?
Did you play board games besides D&D? Did you play like tabletop games? Because that's also pretty nerdy.
Like fucking Monopoly, but that's it.
No, like Warhammer.
Like Warhammer.
Yeah,
no.
Which shout out to the new Warhammer game.
I'd play Risk with my dad, but that doesn't really count.
No, I'm talking about tabletop, like a rule book, like kind of like D&D, but just like other crazy obscure tabletop shit.
I had the unique intersection of like afraid of being called out for being a nerd and also very religious family. Like, so certain things I like could not get access to even if I was interested.
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Dylan?
I got Settlers of Catan in like a Christmas gift or like a little like white elephant type thing like 3 years ago. Haven't even opened it. I've always wanted to play though. I've heard nothing but good things.
Right.
It's also just like me and Davina, so it's just like gonna be like, oh hey, do you want to play this really complicated game just you and me? It seems like it's not really.
It's a good Friday night activity, dude.
Yeah. No, I'd rather fucking ball my eyes out in All Out Draft House, reliving my childhood trauma. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, remember when all of this happened and everything was
I told you.
Light?
I told you. Yes. It takes place during this era of time. Do you remember it? Yes, I loved it. Great. Go watch this movie.
I'm not blaming you. It was just
There's video evidence. There's video evidence.
Before and after, I quite literally was like, oh, this is when there was nothing wrong in my life. Literally nothing. And I knew nothing of I never knew a problem. And then everything.
That's literally a coming of age story.
Yeah.
I want to also say shout out to just like, I don't know, like maybe like set design, props, costuming, hair and makeup. I felt like all these kids were like plucked out of the 2000s. Like they didn't seem like Gen Alphas playing to, like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, this is like from
the way they talk to each other at the picnic table and walking back. I could not believe it. That is like, I could not believe it. The fucking shorts, all of it, the shirts they were wearing,
the oversized shirt.
It was, yep.
It was bonkers to watch. I also appreciated the, them being teenage boys, all of the like the gay conversations.
Yeah, that's what that's
and what did he call him? It was a Fremont Asian
gangster.
Yeah.
Gangster.
Yeah.
As soon as he said it, I was like, no. This is a trap.
No. Yeah.
I've never heard of that, and I was like, a Fremont Asian gangster. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then the punchline hits. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That sucks, man. I fell into that one.
I was so glad too. The reaction to that, I was so fucking fired up.
Yeah, I'm glad he did that. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Beat his ass.
Because he was so he oversold it so much. Like that punch was so well deserved.
The fucking skateboard to the back, dude.
I really wished he would have said that to her at the end when he's like, "You punched my friend." If he was just like, "Yeah, well, your friend called me a," that would have been a perfect like volley. But
I think that kind of speaks to him like really settling into himself. Like, hey, I'm into you, and like even if that like that part is known, the fact that like I'm sure she knows that he said like what the friend said, and maybe he downplayed it, but like the fact that
something tells me
that he just
that
like the story was just, oh, he just punched me.
Yeah.
I mean, based off even look at what the mom was like, because the mom was like, "I can't believe you would do this," and he's like, "You're taking his side." So like something tells me that like it's just the narrative has shifted with like,
especially if he's like if he's supposed to be one of those preppy kind of like Asian guys with like a tiger mom who's like connected in the community and shit, and he's like the lower tier.
yeah, they're like the working class family. He's like the like Asian kid that's not like whatever being super fucking successful. So he's just like the odd one out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I appreciated that he just let it be.
I got you. Yeah.
In the moment, I would have said, "Do you know what he called me?" But I've always had a mouth on me, so.
Do you guys want to give
Do you
it?
Want to rate it? Yeah. It's a fucking 10. It's a 10. It's an A plus. It's an S. It is an S. New tier unlocked. Fantastic movie.
Didn't we get the S tier from the Asian community?
I mean, I think of Metal Gear Solid. Damn, I hope I didn't do a thing, but I do think of Metal Gear Solid.
Video game.
And Hideo Kojima is Asian.
Japanese. I don't know if it goes across different cultures. It may, but
I'm just noticing correlations. Ignore me. So you're saying 10 out of 10, Jose?
Yeah, like a solid 9.5 out of 10. Top tier movie. I wish my only critique, I wish it had more Bay Area kind of like nods to it. Being here now for a year, and it's crazy to say that I've been here for a year. There is a lot of rich history to SF and the Bay in general that I'm really intrigued to figure out about. It's a shame where the city is going, and I thought that this movie would have had a lot more of those like cultural nuggets of what it was like growing up in the Bay during this time before shit hit the fan. I hate that it doesn't, but at the same time, that maybe would have alienated some people who don't necessarily know about what that community was like or what this area of California was like, which makes it more accessible, which makes it great because everybody can take away something from it, you know? So 9.5, top tier.
8.5 for me.
Okay. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
We can have words.
It's like we're allowed to have two different experiences.
No.
There we go.
Were I 6 years younger, I'm sure it would like resonate a little bit more for me, and I'd give it that 10.
If you were 10 years younger, it would resonate with you.
Yeah.
I guess we'll watch your old ass or my old ass to get a better idea of what it's like to be Vaughn. But,
I do want to watch that movie.
It looks really good.
It does.
What movie is this?
Mr. Fucking I arrived 45 minutes late to movies. Aubrey Plaza's in a movie it's called My Old Ass. It's like another coming of age story. Fantastic. I'm sure it won't have any impact on me.
But it's from a girl perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Basically, they are like out camping with friends and they like all trip and she meets the older version of herself who is Aubrey Plaza. And then it's just like hilarity ensues.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Exciting. Yeah, I'm allowed to have a different experience. Assholes.
Hey, no.
No, I get it. Like, you just don't care about my fucking family trauma. Like, I hear it. I understand. You know, here I was thinking you're my friend.
I'll ask you this one time. Is this what you want to do?
Listen, man, you just shat on Mexican culture for 2 movies.
Absolutely,
So, listen,
absolutely.
Man,
I realize the irony of me giving a 5 to the movie. You were like, "No, I really think it's important." I'm like, "This is uninteresting. It's unoriginal. It's fucking not funny." And yeah.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on. Actually, no. I took away our Twitters just because I don't stand with that platform. I don't stand with that person. And we can talk about this later. And I'm sure.
Damn, I lost a follower. What the fuck?
Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on any podcast platform that you're listening to right now. Tell a friend.
Don't be afraid to
tell a friend of a friend.
Movies for us.
Don't be afraid to recommend movies for us.
100%. Go see Didi, and then watch Sicario also. As an aside,
if you're Hispanic, go watch The Honest Candidate.
Great,
Dylan.
I'm not a. Oh, yeah, I got to do the thing.
You always do. You always do the thing,
Class
man.
dismissed.